I was reading a post on the game dev subreddit recently about a developer who cited a significant boost in wishlists when they had posted in the genre subreddit for their game, which kind of surprised me because I didn't really think that posting in the genre specific subreddit would make such a big impact. In general, I don't know that Reddit is a great place for marketing, but I decided to then look a little bit closer into some of the numbers in the Life Simulators subreddit, since that's where my game fits best as a genre. And I noticed some interesting trends that I wanted to talk about. So, first of all, when you're sorting by the top of the month, it's pretty much only people posting their own life sims that has been like activity in the past month. So like you can get to the bottom of the list. It's only like 10 posts or something. And despite that, the top post, at least as of today, with 5 times as many upvotes as the second highest post, is someone just complaining about how there's not any good life simulators and that there's nothing compelling coming out, and that they're frustrated that the genre is so dead. And then like all the rest of the posts with like significantly less upvotes. I think the second most had 65 and this top one had like 400. And then after that it was like in the 20s or less of upvotes for people posting about their own life sims that they're developing. And if you look at the top of all time for that subreddit, it's like it gets up to like 600, I think, for the top post of all time. And looking through the top posts of all time, it's mostly people complaining about The Sims, specifically The Sims 4, and how buggy it is and how little content it has and how devoid of depth that it is. And then in the mid-range of the top posts of all time, you see things like Inzoi and Life by You, other life sims, paralives that are already getting pretty good attention, and it's not the developers themselves posting in the subreddit, but rather other people posting about it in the subreddit, talking about what they're excited about or news that's come out about it, which I thought was really interesting. And then yeah, like you don't even really see till much farther down people posting their own life sims, except like a few rare cases I would say that stood out to me. And I can, like, watching the trailers that were shared that did well by solo devs or indie teams, I can understand why they did well. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, from what I've seen, I think people are looking for in the life sim genre of games. So the big thing is these people are giving quite a big shit about bugs and like shallow content and money grabbiness and like endless DLC, which I totally get. Of course, I feel the same way. But then they also care a lot about visual polish, and they care about hype, they care about scope. It seems like life sims that become more slice of life or a little too narrow just don't even resonate. Life sims that are 2D don't really appeal. It's gotta be 3D graphics. And yeah, in general, it seems like people are in the Life Simulator subreddit looking for games that look like The Sims clones. A distinction that I've read that I think is a good descriptor, life sims are a pretty broadly used category, so things like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing are considered life sims, even though they're extremely different games from The Sims. But Sims-like games, the Sims-like games, are often called dollhouse simulators, which I think, yeah, it's a really good description. And that would be where you're basically playing as God and you can manipulate your characters but like jump between them, and it's not really you. It's you just play as God basically, and like running your dollhouse. So if a game is in the life sim subreddit or life simulator subreddit and it doesn't look like a dollhouse, people don't really care. I like the distinction of life sim versus slice of life sim, where if you're playing basically as one character and you're driving them directly, like with Waslet or whatever, then it's a slice of life sim. But if you're just clicking on things and then telling your character where to go or what to do with UI, then it's a life sim. But yeah, so things that I took away from this, from watching this, from reading through the posts and what was getting most responses, what was getting most conversation. People care a lot about having a game that is polished. They care about having a game that is visually appealing, 3D, cohesive design. It's like everyone you could imagine. But it seems like with life sims, people are especially particular about that, which is kind of scary as a solo dev to see. At least for me, I think as a solo dev, the closest I can do is make something that, while it's maybe narrow, it's not slice of life, because it would still function as a dollhouse with just less complexity, but not less depth. So if I can make a life sim that maybe doesn't have all of the aspects of life, but what it does have goes into detail, and there's like interesting things and interactivity, and not just text boxes telling you that something happened, but you actually like see it happen. Because life sims, especially dollhouse life sims, are a lot more like watching a movie that you're directing yourself than necessarily playing a game. And the game part of it is really strategy, and basically the gamified part of a life sim is like a management sim, really. It's a life management game. So yeah, making a game that has a small complexity scope but large depth scope, and a lot of emphasis on visuals, because you're watching a movie when you're playing the game, really. And it's like a movie where there's no cutscenes. I mean, there can be cutscenes, but everything is the cutscene in a way. Yeah, that was kind of my conclusion. Just don't get too complex with what kind of aspects if I can't deliver on depth to make those things very interesting, and choices matter, and a lot of content basically within those aspects, and obviously a bug-free experience for the players, which also means like it's got to be small enough I can test it, and like realistically, without like a huge AAA team of testers, with just like me and whoever I can reach out to, we can validate it well enough that people get a good experience, is the most important thing. So at least for my current project, the life sim that I'm working on, I'm thinking that means I have to focus on just what I already have and make that really good, and then only once it's on its own, maybe not full of content, but I have a plan for the content, decide if I'm going to add more complexity. So I have needs, I have skills, I have crafting, but I don't have relationships. There's no social actions, there's no other characters to even switch between. It's just one. And I did program in the ability to switch between characters, and the ability to have multiple characters, and the ability to do social interactions, but I'm not going to add any of that in unless I have the time and it really just makes sense for the game to add it for how much extra it would take versus maybe building off of what I have for a second game, which adds that dimension and maybe changes the context so that adding it would make more sense. And then I have the extended timeline of it being a new project that just builds off of the last one. So that's my thoughts, at least. That's, to me, what this digging in has told me. But I'm curious if other people are reading something different out of this information, or if it's absolutely hopeless to make a game that competes with games like The Sims, AAA titles. I feel like it can't possibly be the case because people are really excited about some smaller life simulators that are coming out, or like smaller teams, but still not solo. So yeah, let me know what you think. Am I delusional? Is there something that I'm totally missing? Is slice of life just a more realistic genre to point towards instead of trying to make a dollhouse life simulator? I don't know. But yeah, that's been my rambling for the day. Thanks.